Bill Eppridge was a photographer, a photojournalist. Most people might know him from his work for Life magazine, which was one of the premier picture magazines of the 20th century. Bill photographed probably some of the most significant events of the latter half of the 20th century. One of the most famous stories is the Beatles' first 6 days in the United States. It was such a tightly condensed period of time that it's easy to understand it when you see the collection all together. So that's a reason for people to save their work. I mean, if those pictures had been lost and had never turned up, we never would have been able to do that book. You wouldn't have seen Bill's work, but that's how he approached everything. He shot a lot because he really just saw the story unfolding and he wanted to tell that story visually. When Bill photographed the Beatles and they first came to the United States, they had been a big sensation in Europe. They weren't so widely known in this country. But at the time, United States newspapers, magazines, television, they picked up on it. And when the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, it obviously cemented them as, a huge force to be reckoned with, or if you want to call it that. And Bill knew when he saw them at the airport, he just had a sense that this was something bigger that would live on. But at that time, the magazine only used about 4 of Bill's pictures. And then the images sat unused for years. The negatives actually disappeared somewhere. He never knew where they went. He'd ask for them periodically, and nobody seemed to know where they were. And it was finally around 1970 or 71, the negatives turned up with a note that said, "Oh, we heard you were looking for these." No one ever claimed where they were or took, responsibility for where they'd been all those years. But that was when the Beatles had, I think, finally either broken up as a group or had started breaking up. So the significance of them didn't really come into play until years later when there were all these anniversaries, and 50 years later, we did a book of Bill's work on that, and then you see the whole story from start to finish, from when they get off the plane to how the crowds are there, the Ed Sullivan Show, and the pictures that Bill took really told the story almost in a cinematic way, because he documented so much of it that you are with him the first 6 days and you really see what he was seeing.